Hi, everybody. It's Fridays with Sandy. We've got a very likable and a very exciting candidate with us. You can correct me, Sean Nolan. Sean works for a Big Four accounting consulting company. So that's a very populous pool. And I believe he's a white male. He went to James Madison University. And Sean, could you say hi and tell us what you're doing now?
Hey everyone, good to see you there. So currently at Accenture, been there since graduating. It's been just about 4 years now. I'm in our public service umbrella, and within that, I focus.
Okay, let me interrupt there. How common is it for people to spend 4 years at Accenture right after graduation?
It can happen, but I mean, not too often, because folks, honestly, the first time they do something, they don't like,
people often go through those firms and then leave in 2 years, 2 or 3.
Because they're not fully invested. They're not doing what they want. I've been fortunate enough to seek out and get the opportunities I want to do. So
okay, let me just give you some advice here. Don't diss the other people. Just tell them why why 4 years has worked for you. Don't attribute motives to people, why people leave. Okay. You just, be friends with your former members at Accenture there. Could you tell us what you do? Well, why did you stay for 4 years?
Yeah, so I've had the opportunity to seek out what I want to do with an economics and business intelligence background. I found a really interesting spot with cities, transport, infrastructure to kind of really combine both of those skills.
Yeah, let me mention this. I read your resume. It's this is a resume for someone who understands what you do. It's hyper specific. Led go-to-market project management for a smart mobility platform with Microsoft. What does that mean?
Yeah, so we have an underlying asset with Microsoft technology platform that we can implement and provide for cities. The go-to-market piece is figuring out.
That didn't make it any clearer. Okay, let me give you some advice. When you get interviewed by a business school, they want you to be able to explain what you're doing to someone who's smart but doesn't know the field or the lingo. Could you make the explanation more generalized?
Yeah. We go to cities, implement a capability for their data. The go-to-market piece is how we're expanding that, bringing it to different states, locations, cities, what our strategy is to do that in a coherent way.
I still don't get it. I don't get what the underlying product is, and is it the case that you sell it?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't personally sell it, but I'm developing it. It's a joined up. So Accenture does systems integration, data analytics. So we bring those skills, and it's held on Microsoft Cloud, Microsoft services. So Azure Cloud.
All right. Okay, I'm going to stop beating this. It's not a dead horse. You're a powerful horse, but I'm not getting what I want out of you. You've got it. Here's some homework. Okay.
Got it.
You really need to get that in a conversational, even if it's a dumbed down way, for an interview. What you're doing is people have a stereotype of what a Big Four consultant is like, and what you're doing is you're making the stereotype. You're confirming the stereotype. They go, boy, I didn't understand a word that guy said. He's attractive. He's well spoken. I just, it's just all consultant to consultant lingo. That's a way to turn an otherwise powerful application into a questionable application. Okay.
Understood.
Could you tell us about James Madison University? Why did you go there? And what do you think? What is it known for or as?
Yeah, so growing up in New England, wanted to explore, go to a larger school outside the area, have some family in the DC area. So James Madison's close by to there. I'd say what it's known for, it's got some strong business programs, strong science and technology and STEM, and also I'd say just strong nursing. So it's a large state school. It's pretty dispersed in terms of where the strengths are held.
That's not a good answer. It sounds slick, and it sounds like you're embarrassed about it, and it sounds like well, that's enough. What you really need is an explanation. Like, where would you go to high school?
Portsmouth Abbey. I'm from Rhode Island, Portsmouth, Rhode Island.
I went to high school at Portsmouth Abbey in Rhode Island. When I was graduating high school, the schools on my radar were schools like blah, blah, and blah. I was interested in a liberal arts program or a blah program or whatever the truth is.
Yeah. I got you. No, I wasn't, didn't want to give a full spiel, but yes, I wanted to go to school with more resources. I was from a background, I went to very small elementary, middle school, high school. My graduating class in high school was 93 people. So I wanted to go somewhere that had a bit more resources, interact with different folks. James Madison provided that. Again, good business school. So I did economics there. And then also I wanted to match that up with something.
Yeah, like a good part of this answer is I narrowed this down to schools like blah, 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 and blah. And when I visited, I was very attracted to blah and blah. And I applied to those places. And the first blah I didn't get into, but I was happy to apply to James. I was happy to go to Madison, particularly after I visited. I mean, that's a good, maybe you got into all the schools you applied to. I don't know, but that's just a much more honest and forthright account. Okay, good. And then what was your role on this?
Yeah, so I helped us in terms of the business development. So maybe not a typical consulting role there, but my job was to basically bring the partners together. This was a complicated effort. So I know Accenture and Microsoft have the product, but what made this effort unique is we expanded this to include other partners that have very specific capabilities otherwise. So for an example, I can't name them, but an OEM, which is an auto manufacturer, we brought them on board to support this initiative, given that involves vehicles and transportation. We brought on other very specific transportation partners that have done this capability internationally. So really, it was a collective effort in terms of bringing them together. And what I did is communicate with them, coordinate in terms of legal documentation, getting them up to speed.
Yeah, so my role was I was the mother hen of the team we were putting together, and that involved making sure that the contracts were right, making sure that there were no conflicts of interest, making sure the legalities worked out. I was talking to liaisoning, however you pronounce that. It was interesting because it was cross-functional. I was dealing with subject matter experts. I was dealing with lawyers, and I was certainly dealing with people at Accenture who were eager to make this happen.
Yep.
So that was a real exciting project.
Yep. No, I think just to add on to that, yeah, the cross-functional piece I think is nice to trumpet on.
Right.
It really was. It's a lot of companies, but it's a lot of different functions too.
Business schools love cross-functionality. They love it.
Can talk their ear off on that then. Good. Okay. Yeah. Good to know.
Good. Okay. Could you describe another accomplishment?
Yeah. So I think one other piece from work, the outset of the pandemic, things kind of went in a flash all virtual, but I was able to also help us win an opportunity with a large federal client. During the pandemic, I was able to help them deliver a set of dashboards and data capabilities that were used by over 100 internal users from the department, and also made available to folks from academia and external users as well. So this was all done virtually.
That was a little better, but you still haven't mastered the art of, explaining it in a real dumbed down but legitimate way. Yeah, you really got to give yourself you got to drop the consultant talk if you ever get interviewed, and you will by these business schools. Okay. It's an easy way for them to say, I don't like this guy.
Got it.
You see, put yourself in the role of someone who's doing the admissions interview. He's got to reject 3 people out of 10. That's the usual deal. Like they interview 10 people And this is at the interview phase, and they might accept 7 or 6, and he's got to reject people. And nobody likes to do that. And don't make it easy for him.
Let me ask you a question here out of curiosity. When a question like this is proposed, tell me about a key project, tell me about a key accomplishment. What do you think my running time should be to concisely and clearly deliver that message? Are we talking like 20
30
seconds?
seconds and they'll interrupt.
Yep. Okay. Okay.
So they always interrupt. So that's a good question, because that impacts how you visualize.
I can prepare it a bit, but also I have an internal clock when I feel like I can get it off, and so.
Now, if they say, tell me about a project, you should be able to, 30 seconds is a long time, friend, to speak. For a soliloquy. All right. And they'll interrupt you. So that's the way you should start thinking of it. Real, keep it simple, smart guy. You know that phrase, right?
Got it.
Yeah. Good. Okay. The schools you're interested in are Tuck, Sloan, Ross, Cornell, and UCLA. Sloan, these are, Sloan accepts about 11%. That's going to be a reach for you, okay? Because your stats are, you got a 325. Is that the GRE?
Correct.
Have you got a bead on what that equals in a GMAT?
I can't find anything like super clear.
I tried that myself.
I hear different things. I mean, it seems like for their GRE, at least, it seems to be on par, at least for like their standard. I understand the demographics can differentiate it, but for at least what they publish, it seems to be within range.
Good. Okay. And then you've got a great split. You've got 88%, 81%. So that's 80% on both sides. Schools really like to see that.
I was curious. So, I mean, it's good you mentioned the balance, but I mean, in terms of the quant versus verbal breakdown, especially at a school like MIT, are they weighing that maybe 60-40, or do they must have some angle towards the quant, I would imagine.
They want to make sure you can do the work.
Yeah.
I'll say it, my own personal opinion. MIT is a school that weighs the standardized testing a little more than most other schools.
Doesn't surprise me. Yeah.
For a lot of reasons. Well, they certainly used to. They're kind of, MIT is magazine rating aware. MRA there, magazine ratings awareness. They're high on that chart.
Got it. Okay. But let me, I mean, I don't want to interrupt.
Okay, so I think Sloan is going to be a long shot for a lot of reasons.
Do you think that, so again, why I'm drawn to that is kind of, Accenture, first of all, has a partnership with them for some of their graduate programs in terms of intake of engineers. I mean, do you think that is an angle I can play up on to boost those odds? That's partially why I'm drawn to it, in addition to the entrepreneurial engineering aspect. I mean, is that something I can realistically hype up, or is that still, going to make it too far out of reach potentially?
Unless you can, if you're just talking about this is an intellectual overlay, isn't that interesting? That doesn't count for much. What counts for stuff is, I know a guy in that program who can make a phone call or write a powerful letter. Okay, that delivers. Just the kind of intellectual affinity doesn't count for much. It sounds good. Everyone goes, yeah, but we're kind of worried about, people are breathing down our necks about these magazine rankings. All right. So I think Sloan's going to be hard for you. And their admit rate is like 12%, 11.7. Cornell's admit rate is like 28%, 27.6. I think, and your numbers are kind of in their standards. So I think Cornell, your chances of getting in are, reasonable. And I think, do you know people at these schools? Have you visited?
Yeah, I've already got the plans to visit coming up next month for a couple of them, accruing the contacts. Just actually talked from someone from Michigan yesterday. So I'm certainly waist deep in that process. And
Good. You're doing all the right things. What did the person from Michigan say anything valuable?
yeah, I mean, for that particular example, he said, he went kind of the consulting track, did all the preparation. But what I like to hear is it never felt like it was just that. Once you got started, there's other opportunities to explore different, items within the program. He got a ton of offers, I think, which was really cool and nice to hear. And similar background to me, went to a large public school. We're involved actually in a similar community of interest as well. So I mean, yeah, it seems like a guy I would match up with, and seems like someone in their profile of people they would take.
Yeah, I think your chances of getting in there are good if you can overcome the white male cohort.
Well, can you toss out a number there?
Yeah, 30%, 35%. The index that they admit 26.3%, but you're an average. You're not bringing a dowry, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
They would view you as this guy fills out the class, and he's not going to embarrass us. He's not going to drop out. He's going to do the work, but we're not gaining anything with the magazines with this guy, either by dint of his stats, or that he's a white male, or that he's from the Big Four. So that's why your odds may be a little higher than the accept rate. You follow that? I mean, am I making sense?
No, it does. Yeah.
Yeah, buddy, it's hard cheese, pal, but them's the facts. You know that.
There's certain things, out of my control, and again, this is why it's helpful to hear that. So.
Yeah, I think Cornell. Well, let's deal with UCLA. You see, oddly, I look this up. I could be wrong. Their admit rate is 20%, which struck me as low for them. But I think the pool is not as powerful. I think UCLA gets a lot of state kids.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
So you could be interesting to them. I mean, you do have a dowry with them in that you're out of state. You worked for a Big Four company. That they might like that a little bit. So I think UCLA is a good choice.
It's good to hear. Yeah.
I think Sloan is a reach. I think Tuck is a reach, even though they admit 22%. The people who apply to Tuck are pretty self-selective, and Tuck is the most conscious about keeping the demographic pools equitable. I'll use that word. Tuck is very careful about the white male pool. They don't want too many of them.
Yeah, it's got to balance out. I hear that. Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, all schools say that. All schools feel that, but Tuck believes it and acts on it.
Got it. I mean, can I differentiate myself? I mean, let me ask this. Do I stand into the crowd, or do I differentiate myself as I know that culture in going to a small town in New Hampshire is going to align with me. I can be visible in that community. I'm used to that. I like skiing. New England guy, like, does that play up to me, or does that just throw me in the closet, common person there?
It's not doing you any good. It's an interesting question, whether it's a negative. Yeah. Not that we can do anything about it, just hypothetically. Yeah. Between me, you, and our listeners, and nobody else would admit this openly. That could be a negative, if you know what I mean.
Figured with what you were saying, yeah, that might be the prevailing statement. So, okay.
Right. I think places where you've got your best chance are, Michigan, Cornell, Ross, Michigan, Cornell, and UCLA.
Would you say, from your perspective on things, MIT and or Sloan and Tuck are those doable reaches? Are those, still worth to have on the radar?
Tuck, maybe, because you've got some great, we haven't gone into this, but you've got some powerful leadership and volunteering experiences that are right up their alley.
I know I can speak to that on the application. I know that's what they're looking for. It's not just
Yeah,
the
you've
show.
you've done a lot of, and you also have a kind of, for lack of a better term, you've got a left of center kind of resume and history, and they might view that as a welcome addition to all their, gung ho progressives. Once again, if you know what I mean.
Maybe.
So you might have that going. You might be their likable. They go, yeah, this guy's a likable right winger. Nobody would put it that way.
Yeah, maybe. But I mean, I like to think I passed the airport test, right? People want to talk with me. People want to work with me. I get along. So
that matters. The airport test. It's getting into the airport. That's the hard thing.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
That's what we focus on here.
I got you. Yeah.
Okay, so I think that's your story, and I'm sticking with it. You got any questions for me?
Yeah, I mean, so again, still early in the process, what other schools, might be worth taking a look at based on the profile, based on chances?
I take a look at, U.S. News, let's just go down the list of their top 15, okay? Harvard, no. Penn is going to be no. Chicago would be a reach. Sloan is a reach. Kellogg we've discussed, an acceptable reach. Stanford seems a very far reach. Berkeley, you seem to fit in a lot there. Although they've got a low admit rate of like 12%. Dartmouth would be a reach. Columbia would be worth trying. Yale is small, but that would be a good school to apply to. Michigan, Ross, we've talked about. Duke, would you be interested in going there?
I've heard that. Yeah, this is why I was asking. I've heard that based on what I'm interested in background. I kind of want to get again, like I'm based out of DC right now. Kind of want to bounce around a bit. I know Duke's not necessarily that close, but that kind of falls into the Dart and Fuqua category. Trying to explore a bit. Otherwise, build out.
Well, then NYU Stern. Would you want to go there?
I think that's a pot. Yeah, evaluated that. I mean, maybe it's worth an application either to there or Columbia. I could see I need to check out the campuses and see what both are about, but I would be open to.
Well, you would have an acceptable chance at getting into Stern. I might put it on your list, and you can get what you want out of it. And then UCLA, have you investigated that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely already attending some things, speaking with folks there. Hopefully,
yeah. Okay, that's a good one.
So, yeah.
And then we get to now we're talking about Cornell, McCombs, which is University of Texas at Austin, Chapel Hill, Keenan Flagler, Carnegie Mellon, Emory, Georgetown. Those are on the safer side. I'd have. What do you consider your safe school at the current?
So that's what I don't. I guess we haven't discussed this yet, but I mean, I'm not doing it just to go get the MBA. You're talking about that initially at the investment. Do I absolutely 100% need it? No, I think a lot of people fall in that category. So I don't want to just kind of check.
Yeah, okay. We're clear on this.
Yeah,
I get it.
Yep. So I think maybe like in terms of ranking purely off of that, I guess what UCLA is or Cornell is the lowest. I mean, I'm hopeful I would get into at least one of those, I would say.
I'm looking at a U.S. News ranking here.
Yeah.
UCLA is 15, Cornell is 16, Texas Austin is 17, Chapel Hill, North Carolina is 18, Carnegie Mellon is 19.
I wouldn't go lower than, I think Cornell's the lowest center.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, you've got a lot of wonderful extracurriculars dealing with infrastructure, cities, helping other people. You're active at James Madison. I think your recommenders could really say great things about you. Who are you going to be using?
Yeah, so both folks within that particular sub-industry practice of cities transport infrastructure. So one at the senior manager level, one a bit higher at the director level.
Make sure those people can say, I I've worked with this, I think this guy is super duper, and here are 4 specific reasons why. Can
Yep.
these guys do that?
Yeah, I've already, I haven't reached out to them yet, but I have the coaching bullet points and stories. And
Okay, good.
I'm doing my prep, but
Yeah,
I think
you're doing it, man. Okay, Sean, you you know how to play this game. Thank you for being available as a very valuable body to whatever they call that when they take it apart. Post-mortem here, even though you're still living. It's been a valuable trip for the last, whatever it is, 30 minutes. Okay, and good luck, and we'll see you out on the admissions boardwalk. Okay.
sounds good. Yeah, hope I make it there, but appreciate your time today.
Okay, good talking to you.
All right, take care. Bye now.